Hi everyone, welcome to my final presentation. For this presentation, I will focus on assignment 2. So in this presentation, we will go through the recommendation that I focused on. We will also understand how to reach success through the recommendation, what different aspects teachers can bring into the classroom, and then we will go through selected articles 1 and 2, which provide data to support the ideas presented in this recommendation, and then we'll go through some general takeaways. So just to set the context, what is the IES Practice Guide? The IES Practice Guide is a publication which gives recommendations for educators to utilize in their classroom when teaching. These guides can be found on the IES website. So essentially, these recommendations are different activities, different pieces of writing which teachers can focus on in the classroom to fully emphasize and help students progress in their writing and develop their writing skills. So the specific IES guide, which I focused on, was ways to teach writing in elementary schools. This IES guide has 4 recommendations, but the one that I will be focusing on, which is recommendation 3, focuses on the following. Recommendation 3 states to teach students to become fluent with handwriting, spelling, sentence construction, typing, and word processing. So there are 4 steps on how teachers can really reach these goals with their students. And the first one is to teach writers how to properly hold a pencil. In order to do this, some teachers like to use pencil grips. When you're in kindergarten and first grade, you can also show students using a larger pencil or a regular size pencil how to actually grip the pencil, which hands to use, which fingers to use, and how the pencil should look when it's touching the paper. Now, this also includes teaching students how to properly write letters, where teachers will often use letter writing diagrams as shown on the top right of this slideshow. There is a handwriting practice diagram where it shows step number 1 for writing the capital letter B, to draw the line down first and then to loop around after. This also in teaching students how to hold a pencil properly will help them further understand and further practice writing sentences and also writing paragraphs. The second thing to do is to teach the correct spelling of words. So this really emphasizes the skills of phonological awareness, spelling phonics, and morphological spelling. So phonological awareness being that connection between hearing a word, seeing the letters on paper, and understanding how the letters in that word all connect together to create the word that is on the paper. Spelling phonics is really making that letter sound correspondence, understanding why the letter E makes the E sound or the S sound, depending on how it is in a word. And then morphological spelling, where does that word come from? What is the basis of it? What is the history of it? The other 2 ways are to teach students to construct sentences for fluency, meaning, and style. So for fluency meaning, making it sound like the way that it would be spoken. And through doing this, teachers would often emphasize sentence framing, or giving sentence starters, sentence expanding, and sentence combining. And number 4, teachers also must teach proper and fluent typing skills as we move further through into a world where more schools and students have access to technology and will need to type. It's important that they know where the letters are without looking, as this will increase the amount of words they're able to type per minute, and also will allow them to think freely when typing on the computer and not as much about typing the actual word, but typing what they want to say. And they also need to know how to use this technology that is needed to type. And on the next slide, here I have examples of what sentence framing, sentence expanding, and sentence combining means and looks like. So sentence framing is kind of like sentence starters or a little bit of a fill in the blank. Sentence expanding really means taking a sentence, a simple sentence like the dog napped, and adding in adjectives, adverbs, and other descriptive language in order to really paint a picture of what was going on. And then sentence combining would be taking 2 smaller sentences and making them into one, by using punctuation and by using connecting words. So recommendation 3, each one is given a rating. with the amount of evidence that the practice has, really depending on what the evidence shows and how many studies there are. So for recommendation 3, it was given the rating of moderate evidence. When something is given the rating of moderate evidence, it shows causal conclusions in terms of writing and improvement. So there is a causation between the improvement of a student's writing. It's possible that the findings may not be replicated in other studies. However, some studies with something rated with moderate evidence may be related to the recommendation, but may not be exactly what is being discussed in the recommendation. However, the skills that are being looked at in the study may relate to what the recommendation states. So for example, recommendation 3 was rated as moderate evidence as evidence from 9 studies incorporating handwriting, sentence construction, and word processing were included. And 8 out of 9 of those studies had positive outcomes, meaning that the students did grow from what was shown in those studies. Some positive effects were also combined with some negative effects, further stating why this received moderate evidence, and one study did find no effect on a student's spelling ability. 7 out of 9 studies tested on students with writing difficulties, when the focus was writing practices for students with writing difficulties. Therefore, again, receiving moderate evidence because not all of these studies had participants who had shown writing difficulties previously. So the first article that we're going to look at is a Sadler and Graham article, and this article was primary evidence. And this study tested the effectiveness of sentence combining instruction. So in this study, there was peer-assisted sentence combining instruction on writing performance, and the students were put in pairs, one student being deemed more skilled in writing and one student being deemed less skilled in writing. There were 30 sessions. The sessions were 25 minutes each, and in these sessions, students were taught how to combine and expand their sentences. While there are no direct research questions from this study, the main point of the study was to determine if instruction to improve sentence construction skills is beneficial for more and less skilled fourth grade writers, that more being the more skilled and the less being the less skilled. And the participants in this study were fourth graders ranging from 9 to 11 years old. And in the end, the study included 42 students in 21 pairs. So in this article, there were 3 different units that they taught to the students throughout these sessions. In the first bend or the first unit, they kind of focused on the connectors. So, but, because, and, how you can put those words into a sentence to expand them. The second one, they added an adverb. So for example, they may have used the word "they run around the track." And the researchers and would have encouraged the students to use an adverb like "they run quickly around the track," describe how they ran. And the final bend or the final unit was making multiple embeddings, including adjectives, adverbs, and adverbial clauses. So taking connectors, adjectives, all of these different things that we put in a sentence to make it more colorful, and not just focusing on one, but focusing on a connector and an adverb at the same time. This study found that sentence combining instruction can be effective in improving sentence construction skills. As the students learn to revise and edit their sentences, compared to the students who only received grammar instruction. So while the students were receiving these sentence combining and expanding skills, the students who only received grammar instruction were not found to have as colorful and contextual and developed sentences. And when revising these post-test papers, the students were able to improve their quality of writing after the instruction. So in Article 2, it was also primary evidence. The study tested the effectiveness of spelling interventions, and 47 third grade students who were considered at risk in writing participated. These students were in 24 sessions, which were 20 minutes each, and the skills were in alphabetic principle and syllable awareness. There are no direct research questions from this study. However, there were two main points from this study. Number one was to compare the relative effectiveness of alphabet principle training only and alphabet principle combined with syllable awareness training. And the second one was to continue practice with specific words and specific word study. So the alphabet principle in Article 2. In this, they were really focusing on the phoneme, spelling, correspondence, and word practice using combined whole word and phoneme letter to model 10 target words. They were also given some keyboard training. The alphabet principle and syllable awareness. We're given all of these things for the alphabet principle, and it was also combined with syllable understanding. So understanding the 6 different syllable types, which are open, closed, a final E or a silent E at the end with a long vowel sound, an R controlled, an ending in CLE with a consonant LE, or a vowel team. The Article 2 results showed that the 3 skills which differentiated the positive responders to the intervention were word recognition in reading, fluency in producing alphabet letters, and accuracy in coding multi-letter spelling units in briefly presented written words. It also found that students may benefit from handwriting practice and instruction, and the students also may benefit from daily practice with teacher-directed dictation of the specific words, which shows a connection between spoken and written words. In general, some of the takeaways from all of these studies were the importance of both handwriting and typing. Not only is it important for students to be able to write something out and practice that with their hands, but it's also important for them to learn how to type, learn how to use the technology that they may be using. Students also really showed great benefit from phonics instruction, specifically direct explicit teaching. And this phonics instruction includes phonological awareness, spelling, and that letter sound correspondence. Another general takeaway is the connection between spelling and writing, and how the more students spell, the more students learn how words are created, the more they'll be able to write. And the less students will have to focus on the way that words are spelled when they're writing and can focus more on the content of what they want to say. So the direct instruction of strategies to develop proofreading skills is also super important, as students, once they write, are able to go back and recognize when a word is spelled wrong or when a sentence may need to be combined or expanded. And repetition of all of these things are so important. And finally, understanding syllables for students are very important. Understanding why a vowel may make a long vowel sound with an E at the end of the sentence really will help them connect all the words that they see with this same pattern. And this brings us to the end of our presentation. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you learned something.